Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry that I'm running a few minutes late today. Get myself set up here. I don't think we have any pre-submitted questions today. So if you guys have questions, again, ask them in Q&A, ask them in chat, or just use the raise hand function. And we will go ahead and get your question answered. And Sabrina, that's correct. I don't think we have any pre-submitted today.
That is correct.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about decisions days at all that we could answer for you at all? Just as a reminder, Decisions Days is in Norfolk, Virginia, October 4th through 6th. Got a bunch of customers, a bunch of cool workshops, and opportunities to hear from other people in the decisions developer community. All right, David's got a question. Is there a difference between restarting SHM from the UI versus the server? There shouldn't be, but there is. So a couple notes is, in V7, as a function of us moving from .NET Framework to .NET Core, we have lost the UI-based restart action. Support does have like a kind of rink-a-dink flow we can send you if you need to restart your server from the UI in V7. That being said, there is no difference, but sometimes the restart through the UI does not work correctly, and it's very intermittent and a thing that we have hardened up, but it is an area for us to improve. So if I put my support hat on, I would say if you have the opportunity and you need to cycle the service, always do it from Windows, using like Service Host Manager, restarting Service Host Manager directly, because sometimes the restart through the UI, especially on older versions of the product, will either not work or will appear to work, but not quote unquote completely work. So not supposed to be different in any way.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, that makes total sense. We noticed it today when we tried to do it from the UI, and memory was still running around 3 gigs or something, and we didn't get the no connection notice. And then we did it from the server, and it looked like it always does. So yeah, we're just curious about that, but that helps a lot.
Should behave the same, but there have been issues, and we fixed we definitely fixed some things around like 6.10. So anything before 6.10, it was a bit of a canner. It may not work. Anything newer than that is better, but there are still times where, for reasons that are unclear to us, it doesn't go through completely. So I would say if you have the option, always just go straight to Windows and restart, just to be sure. Like, you don't want to waste any effort, like troubleshooting an issue because the server didn't restart as you expected it to.
Gotcha.
And again, in V7, unfortunately, we've lost that ability. So, but we can provide you a flow that can run basically a command line argument to restart the services. So.
Oh, okay.
For those of you that are on 7.
I got you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Did we get you the stuff that you asked about yesterday, David? Like,
yeah, I think Sabrina sent some stuff over. I've been swamped with other things. I haven't had a chance to really dive in, and
no worries
yet.
No worries. Just want to make sure we shot that stuff over to you.
Sweet.
So just let us know what other questions you have once you get a chance to dive into that.
Will do.
Okay. Who's next? Who's got questions today? No question. There is some anonymous Q&A thing. So if you're afraid to ask a question, you can use some anonymous question asking feature in Zoom webinar. No question is too simple or too complex. Well, some questions are too complex, but I will try to answer them. All right, Janice, is it possible to minimize the section on a form? Yeah, we have There's it's a bit older. I don't say that its default styling is that wonderful, but there is a component on a form called a header container. That should allow you to shrink the content. You could use CSS. So let me edit my grid here and just I'll put 2 header containers here. And inside of this, can I do the background color on this? Yeah, so do background color red. How about that? Let's see, let's go ahead and, well, I guess I'll have to put a button on my form. So build a flow to run my form. Bring my form over, select my form. And then let's run this. Should have 2 containers. Okay, how do I make it collapsible? I can't remember how to do this. Behavior, triggers, help view. Okay, maybe it's not. Is there collapse? It's color picker. Where's our, maybe it's under layouts. That's it, right? Same thing. Is collapsible. There's a property here called is collapsible. I don't know what our portal setting is, but I'll set both of these to yes. Let's try that. Sabrina, have we moved our YouTube channel to the main YouTube channel yet, or is that still TBD?
That's in progress, so everything's still on the other YouTube channel.
Okay, and so you have this header container here with this, and you can toggle this this view, Janice. Now, I believe, and let's quickly confirm, since there's not a lot of questions today, if we use a vertical stack, given some of the questions you were asking yesterday, I think the vertical stack will. So I'm going to delete this grid here, go to layouts, put a vertical stack in, and then I'm going to drag my header containers on. And I believe if I run this and I collapse the first, the other one will slide up. So yeah, I think stacks and header containers, and in fact, it looks better than I remember. I remember these looking a lot older the last time I used them. And then let's see here, let's see, hide title bar. If I say yes, there we go, that looks better. Hide the title bar, maybe. Oh, you can actually do it in the designer. That's interesting. Does that answer your question, Janice?
Yeah, and you actually answered the second question because I was going to ask about the vertical stacks with it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, you can get, looks like you could style this a bit if it doesn't match you exactly what you'd like. I think you can even put I think you could put a title in these as well. Who's our doc person on today? Can we have a doc do we have a doc about designing space reclaiming forms? Something like that? I'm not sure if that makes sense.
I'm not too sure that we have a doc about space reclaiming forms, but we do have form control glossary that has all the different settings for the form on there.
Okay, I think we should have like an overview type document specifically about space reclaiming form designs. Not like a how-to, but like that could walk someone through using vertical stacks and visibility rules or header containers to be able to build forms that can hide and show components and allow you, but in a way which is space reclaiming, please. Okay, Janice, does that any other questions about that?
That answers it.
Okay. All right, wonderful. All right, so Brady's got a question. I'm trying to build a parameter string for an API call. Some of the parameters are optional. Is there a way to take the inputs from a flow and build the string based on those that have values? I would need the name of the input and its value. Example of the, here, sorry, let me put this in the chat, guys, so everyone can see this instead of having to listen to me. Just a moment here. Sorry for forgetting to do that. All right, here's Brady's question. I'm trying to build a parameter string for an API call. Some of the parameters are optional. Is there a way to take the inputs from a flow and build the string based on those that have values? I would need the name of the input and its value. Example of the parameter string is ID equals and amount equals. So inputs into the flow are ID of the type. Okay. Is this question more about flow inputs or about like the string manipulation to dynamically build up your query param string, Brady?
Yeah, so I have like 10 different inputs into the
Okay.
flow, and I'm just trying to either loop through them or just check to see if they're null. If they're null, then I don't care about them. If they aren't, then I need to build that string, the parameter string for the API call.
So you're actually calling, like making a REST call from a flow?
Yep.
Like a GET request with params?
Yep.
And you're just trying to see if the value, and what's the inputs are what? Like, is it like data members of a type?
Yeah, so
Or like,
I just define them into the flow.
uh-huh.
And so one of them, for example, is ID, and I just
Mhm.
have that as a type of int. I have an
Okay.
amount. I have a bunch of other ones as well, but
Okay.
only like one or two of them are actual required. The rest are optional. So if I
And
put
if
those
null,
optional
you
ones,
want to exclude them.
yeah, exactly.
So what I would do is this. Here's what I would do. I would use a flow structure instead of just declaring individual primitives.
Okay.
I create a flow structure called, URL param wrapper. I use wrapper for everything, right? URL param wrapper. And in here, I'll put like I'll just put like two, well, I can't do that, like 2 or 3 strings, right? And I'll build this and I'll go into a flow. This will be called, build up get request, right? Oh, good Lord. And what I'll do is I'll just have a create data step here. And on that, I'll define that wrapper type I just built. All right, let's try that. Go away. Let's try this. Current folder. Okay. And then this will be called, current data or something. And then I'll just put like a placeholder step to reference our, why don't I actually just use one of our default? I'll use integration, HTTP, get. So here's like a default get step. And what I would do is use a search for data pairs. Data pair, okay. Data pair, and get data pairs by name, get data pairs, blah, blah, blah. Where are you at? Object properties to data pairs. And then pass my object into this. So I'm going to pass in current data, right? And then one of the things you'll notice is if I run this, let me actually make this a constant and give it some data. So A, B, C. It runs through. If I look at my output, it's going to give me the properties as a list. So what I could then do is like for each that list, and then do like a empty is empty. So is empty. And then what I'll do, if it's is empty, I'll just go to the next item. And if not empty, maybe I have like, come here and I'll build my dynamic URL param string. And then I'll go ahead and do, I'll just use my favorite, but probably overly complicated merge step, my custom merge, all this work. I mean, this seems like a lot of work to do this, but that's just what it is, I guess. Custom merge step, what I can do is, like, I don't know, maybe I'll create data on my dynamic query string. I'll start it with a $, right? Custom merge, I will then do require brackets, and I'll do $. And I'll walk all through this again once I get it confirmed. I think my thing's working here, which will be, I'll call this property name, and then I'll say equals $, curly braces, and this will be property value. And then also here do $, curly brace, and this will be called previous string value. All right, so previous string I'll take in from dynamic URL param string, and then I'll just use the mapping editor. And if I look at, oh, I didn't set up my for each step yet, sorry. Let me pass in my data pairs, object data pairs to my for each step. And then is empty, I'll check the value of item. So if I look at item object value, you can check to see if it's null. That step might not work, right? We might have to use object as null. We'll figure that out in just a minute. And then here, if I expand item, I can get property name as name and value as output value. And then do switches from rename to change value and update the dynamic URL param string. And then this will fail, but then what I could do really is just, let's assume, I'll just turn simulation on. I'll just in debugger just so it'll ignore it. Simulation output constant, it doesn't matter. There we go. And let's see, let's debug this. All right, so you know what, let me do this. Let me pass in my dynamic URL string here. And if I look at my input data, I get, oh, okay, yeah. Let me just close this off with an and, right? You might have to tweak this for the last item in the loop or something, right? So you don't have like a trailing and. Are you tracking on what I'm doing here at all?
Yeah, this is great.
And there you go. So now I've got, so that showed everything. So let me edit my step. Let's make, let me do build, let me change this to build data. And let me set this to null. And if we run it again, does string 2 get left out? Oh, sorry, all of it's null, sorry. And if I look at this, I should only have string 1 and string 3. Yeah, so really what I'm doing here is two main things. I'm leveraging object to data pairs. So instead of doing a bunch of primitives, or even you can still do it the same way, but maybe just map to a flow structure right before you need to do this, like into the appropriate properties. This takes all of the properties of a data type and gives them to me as a data pair list. So name and value. So get that, use that step. That's probably just the missing link you were missing.
Yeah,
because it's not intuitive how to get a object properties as a list. In fact, I wonder if we should just let you have that automatically. That'd probably be a nice little feature in like a property access or properties, properties is list or whatever. Anyways, get data pairs for object properties. Here's your list, loop the list, check to see if the value property is empty. If it is, go to the next item. Otherwise, do a quick merge. And here I'm using an in velocity merge, require bracket is set to true. So I can use curly brace and $signs to define my, oh, you know what? Yeah, and so I can use curly brace and $signs to prime my variables. So each combination of $sign and curly brace gives me a value I can map into, and then I can map into each of those. So, and the trick is I declare an empty string I pass it into previous string, which is what my starting string always is. And every time I loop through, I basically take this text and append it and update it. So every time it loops through and it's not null, it'll add some new additional text to the end of the string. Does all that loop and then passes that in, then we would construct some, there'd actually be some sort of like call here, right? HTTPS dot, www.web.com, right? / dynamic URL string or something like that. Questions about that?
Awesome. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we'll get it posted later today so that you can, if there's anything I just blew through too quickly there for you.
Cool.
Sorry.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. That is a wonderfully difficult thing to do without knowing kind of what steps to use.
Yeah,
in our
I
tool,
could get the values just fine and loop through, the whole thing. But yeah, it was just getting the names of it. That's the hard part. So awesome.
Okay. Janice's question is, can you reuse active form flows? And so for those of you that aren't aware, in V7, we have a thing called an active form flow. And it really replaces data flows, validation rules, and visibility rules into one flow-based design pattern, and really opens up a lot of more convenient ways to create dynamic form content. And so Janice, those are, and just to show what one of those is, let's go ahead and go back to my form we created. So those form controls are considered private. They're flow, they're like form aware. They are not they cannot be reshared amongst different forms. So if you, and here's an active form flow, which I can create. And you'll notice if I look at this, and I look at Data Explorer, it has form data, which gives me access to components on the form directly. So I can make modifications to the components on the form using this flow. So Janice, your question, you cannot, and I'll make sure I actually post this in the chat. You cannot reuse active form flows, but any logic that you want to use in an active form flow can be bundled into a subflow, and then the subflow itself can be used. So, but unfortunately, these types of flows are private or form aware, and that means they are bound, unlike a normal regular flow, they're bound to the thing you created them on. And you'll even notice, like when you create one the first time, it just edit it, like not select it, because it creates it when you select this option. So you cannot reuse these across different forms. They are very tightly bound to the form they were created on. Okay, who else has got questions? Or if you want me to, I'm happy to walk. I know I ran through that GET request builder, so if anyone would like to ask questions about that, please let me know. That was more of a complicated thing. No other questions today? Bit of a short day. Okay, well, 30 minutes is really where I think our sort of cutoff time. So if you guys have a question, please feel free to just use the raise your hand thing. Otherwise, I think we'll go ahead and call it a day for our lunch and learn this afternoon, or evening, or morning, depending on where you might be. I think we just had someone join. For anyone that might have just joined, not a lot of questions this afternoon or no questions left. Please let us know if you have questions. And otherwise, we're going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and close this session down. But I did see some people just join, so I wanted to give them the opportunity to ask a question if they had one. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and call it a day. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the questions, and we'll get these posted up and links to the YouTube sent out. I guess we don't have to actually send links, Sabrina. We should just ask that people subscribe. How many subscribers do we have now? I shouldn't let you guys see my YouTube recommendations. That might be a terrible thing. Decisions, support. There we go. If you can't tell, I'm a Ravens fan. How many subscribers do we have? 10.
10.
10. All right, we're on our way. Only 990 more till we can become YouTube influencers, Sabrina.
We're on the road.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.